All right, we've got about 10 minutes of class left. We've just spent time working in groups on content planning, mapping out social media posts, organizing posting calendars, and making sure everything is structured and consistent. You should have a calendar that hopefully looks something like this on the screen right now. If not, please see me after class. Your group should have produced something like this. Hopefully, the exercise allowed you to see how much strategy is needed if you're going to have a successful social media presence online. You can't just wing it. So many students fall into that trap of thinking, oh, yeah, I can do this. I've seen it. It's easy. It can't be that hard, right? And there's so much more to it. There's an old saying in marketing that has been around forever, and you've heard me say it, and you're going to hear me say it again. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I know it sounds nerdy, but it's so true, right? That's why planning your content out is critical. Without a solid plan, brands who post randomly often miss opportunities and they really struggle to engage with their audiences. You'll often notice that they kind of feel lame and out of touch with what they're posting, but you can't figure out exactly why they feel that way. So look at this poor guy on the graph. Uh, Now that you've pre-planned your calendar and you've pre-planned your post today on the various platforms, you might be thinking like this guy. Oh my God, what actually goes into all these freaking posts? Where do I start? How do I even know what's gonna grab my target audience's attention to get them to stop scrolling on their phone? Does anything get people to stop scrolling? What will get clicks? What's going to get engagement? If you're thinking, oh crap, this is a whole another level of stuff that I got to work on now. I think I'm going to hate this job. Maybe I should change majors. Okay, no. Deep breaths, right? Do not freak out, y'all. Okay? Just like with everything else in marketing, we've got a plan. This is where we're going to be picking up next week on Monday. Because the secret to standing out online isn't just about posting regularly. And while that's important, you've got to have a consistent presence. It's more about telling an interesting story, something that's going to grab people's attention. Think about brands and influencers you follow personally. You don't just follow them because they post frequently. There are plenty of losers, right, online that post all day long. You follow people because their content makes you feel something. You feel something inside you, connect to it. They're telling a story that keeps your attention. It keeps you engaged. It really makes you want to interact. It makes you want to stop scrolling on your phone, at least for a few seconds, right? So this brings me to my next question. What do Luke Skywalker and Little Red Riding Hood have in common? Don't everyone shout the answer at me at once. Think about it. They may come from completely different worlds, literally, right? But both characters follow what's called a storytelling structure. And believe it or not, great advertising brands do the same thing when they're creating digital content. Every great story, whether it's a movie, a fairy tale, or it's a brand's marketing campaign, follows a structure. I hope that if you notice anything in this class, it's that you got to organize stuff to be successful. And there are two key frameworks that we're going to explore next week to help you do just that. There's one called the SCQA, excuse me, and the Pixar frameworks. Check out the handouts that I gave you earlier in class. They're also available on Blackboard, where I always put everything for this week's module, so you can download them and look at them later. If you look at the worksheet that says example on it, it's the one with Yoda and Luke Skywalker at the top. You're going to see the Pixar framework. And it's used in not just Star Wars. It can be used in anything. The Pixar kind of invented this framework. And so we can fill in the blanks here with the dark, bold font on the left is the Pixar framework. So once upon a time, we're filling in the blank here. There was a farm boy named Luke Skywalker. Every day, he dreamed of leaving his home planet. Until one day, his family was killed and he was thrown into a galactic battle. And because of that, he trained as a Jedi. And because of that, he fought Darth Vader. Until finally, he destroyed the Death Star. Ever since then, he became a hero of the rebellion. And I challenge you to go back and look at every Pixar movie, and they have that same formula. Now, if we look at SCQA, situation, complication, question, answer, and we apply that to Little Red Riding Hood, what was the situation with Little Red Riding Hood? She's walking through the woods, bringing her grandma something to eat. She hits a complication. A wolf pretends to be her grandmother so he can eat her. A question arises. How is she going to escape? And then there's an answer. A patriarchal story unfolds, and she meets a lumberjack in the forest who comes to her rescue. So next week, we're going to dive in and look at how brands use these exact same structures to tell stories and engage audiences. But before we do that, I want to warm up your brains a bit before you come back to class with a homework assignment. Yay, homework for the weekend. So your homework assignment is I want you to apply a storytelling framework and tell me a story. You can pick either the SCQA or the Pixar framework. So there's other ones out there, and we might look at some of those. But we're going to focus on these two to get started. What I want you to do is pick a Super Bowl ad from this year. And I've got a link in Blackboard, and there's also a link on the bottom of the worksheet if you want to type it in. And look at the second worksheet, the Ellen DeGeneres Amazon Alexa. That's a good example of what we're talking about. This is kind of what I want you to do. I want you to watch a Super Bowl commercial and kind of reverse engineer it. Keep your story to 4 to 6 sentences, keep it simple, and make sure you follow one of these storytelling structures, these frameworks. And we'll give you a real quick one to go out on a high note. Here's an example using a Pixar framework for a student. Once upon a time, there was a student who always waited till the last minute to do homework. Every day, they promised to start early, but they never did. Until one day, they realized that the assignment was due at an hour. It was probably 11 o'clock at night. Because of that, they worked in a panic. And because of that, they turned in something that probably didn't get an A. Until finally, they decided to plan better next time. And ever since then, they always start their work early. Most of the time. So what I want you to do is on the back of the Star Wars sheet, there's a template you can use. If you want to write it by hand or not, you can type it out on a Word doc. Post your story in Blackboard by midnight on Sunday, just like we always do for homework. But I also want you to bring your story to class Monday and be ready to share in small groups. We'll share some of the better ones. And we're going to analyze how these real brands use the same techniques to connect with target audiences by using digital story techniques, just like the ones we've talked about today. I really can't wait to see what stories you guys come up with from the Super Bowl commercials. Have a really great weekend. Don't forget, you can email me. You can text me in an emergency anytime if you have questions, and I'll try to respond as soon as I'm available. All right. Thank you very much.